So my wife, Alyssa Fox, does not like talking about herself. So I will introduce her. And if we're lucky, she will maybe introduce me. So Alyssa is a musical theater nerd from a very, very long time ago. Started her acting, dancing, singing career as a child in single digits, and was Little Orphan Annie, and had her actual dog Sandy, and went on to study musical theater in college and perform. And she had an epiphany when she was in college and saw her friends going off to try to make it on Broadway or act in LA. And she realized that she wanted to have a different life than that. So she started pursuing business and then later software engineering, and became a technologist, somebody who builds things, and now runs data collection for a massive media company, and is no longer singing and acting and dancing. But when I get her to do it, like something that we did recently, her true colors come out, and she's still very good at that. But hung all that up to be a software engineer and a product manager to help shape technology products for really big companies. And she is the smart one and the good-looking one, and that's what I'm very grateful for. And I'm excited to tell our story of how we met and what got her to say yes to letting me stick around. But I feel like I'm always going to get to watch her do things that I don't know how to do. And I think if you were to ask a lot of people how they would describe Alyssa, they would say she's somebody who is good at everything, and it's annoying.
Yeah, thanks for saying that about me, because I don't think I'm allowed to say that about myself. I don't know if that's like a woman thing where like you are taught that bragging, or you're taught that you're bragging, not that you're like reflecting about you, that makes it so uncomfortable for me to talk about my
I
own
can brag about you
experience.
all day.
Thanks, honey. I appreciate it.
I wish that was my job. I could crush that job.
So my husband is one of the kindest people I've ever met. He's super generous, very loving, very passionate, and he's probably the only person I've ever met that is as good at everything as I am, if not maybe a little bit better. He's super impressive and always has been. And when I met him, he was actually working on his first healthcare startup. He's gone on to launch many successful startups, and also found himself in extremely impressive corporate roles as well for companies like Paramount and Google. So he has a lot of experience across many different business sectors, which I think is super important and extremely impressive. It's really hard to pivot that way. I've done it myself, and I know from experience how hard that is. He's constantly learning and always teaching me new things, which keeps it interesting and fun. And I'm super lucky to know him, and even luckier that he likes me enough to spend every day with me.
Oh, I don't want to cry on our podcast.
Gross. Don't do that.
You're going to make me. I'm blushing and also tearing up.
Well, I'm sweating profusely. So
that's pregnancy related, I think.
Yeah. Hot flashes are fun.
Well, thank you for that lovely intro, honey. That was very nice. And look, I think part of what got us to where we are right now is that we're both really, really ambitious people who are never satisfied with the status quo and push each other relentlessly to be better, smarter, faster. And now we're making people. We have a 3.5-year-old, soon to be 4, and a baby on the way, hence the sweating. And we decided in our infinite wisdom that why not add a podcast to that list of things that we're doing? Nobody out there is doing podcasts, so we thought we should do one because there's just not enough of them.
What's one more?
Yeah. But I think
also arguably no one else is having babies. So
Yeah. Well, actually, population is in decline in major developed
we're
countries.
doing a
So
public service.
we
And
are
that's how
helping.
we feel about our podcast too.
Same with the podcast. But
Yeah.
in seriousness, the idea with Frank Growth was to do something that is actually a little bit different. And the hope is that we can share through our conversations with each other and the interesting people that we have on the show, um, how to grow a business and professionally, and also grow a family, raise kids, build a partnership with your partner, and have fun along the way.
I
And
think also anybody can do it. It's not necessarily about like, here's how you can
yeah,
do it too. Like, it's not about that. It's more about just being candid about the fact that it comes along with compromises that you don't always want to make, just like a marriage. Like, you're not always going to want to make those compromises, but the amount that you admire your partner really helps cushion the blow.
we're hoping that we can learn from each other and the interesting people that we talk to about how they grew and how we're all able to grow together. So that's Frank Growth. That's why we're doing this. We have some funny, sad, weird stories to tell that we'll try to pepper in when it makes sense, and hopefully you enjoy it. So we're going to have a bunch of awesome people on the show over the course of the coming weeks and months, and talk to them about the intersection of their lives and their businesses and how the two work together or sometimes don't. And we're going to ask them questions. So it's only fair that we kind of talk about those questions now and ask each other them. So one of my favorites to ask is, what's a bit of advice, Alyssa, that you've gotten over the years that the time you thought was, oh, that's great advice, I totally believe that, and it turned out to be complete bullshit?
I think it's probably that you don't have to have everything aligned. Like, you don't need to be prepared. You just have to be willing to jump. I think that's total bullshit. I think that it's an intersection of being prepared and jumping that really makes for a successful landing. I think a lot of people inadvertently cause themselves harm because they think they're supposed to just figure it out on the fly, or like it'll be okay. But I think whenever the risk is really high, there's so much you can do to prepare. Why wouldn't you wear a parachute, or like a squirrel suit or something? Like, don't just jump.
Yeah, the whole fake it till you make it crowd is, they don't have it. That's not right. I think you as a former performer, you get it. You have to actually prepare and also, take the plunge.
What's the importance of having a support system both at home and in running a business? And how would you say that contributes to your overall success?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at my support system right now. You're the you're the best friend and best partner anybody could ask for, and I think your support has enabled me to go start this business that has been very successful. And in spite of me sometimes being unavailable or working long hours, or you know not being as present as I need to be, you pick up the slack. And I think having a dynamic in a partnership where the other person is willing and able to kind of carry some of that load when their partner is doing something really hard that's going to take more time or energy than they thought is huge. And I think what makes the difference is, and I've heard people talk about this, and we've used it a couple times, but it's talking about like, I'm at like 10% or 20% today, and I'm at 50%. Okay, well, the person who's got a little bit more fuel in the tank is going to be the one to step up today. We try to alternate the things that we do for our daughter and for our home, and some of those things one of us just always does. And having negotiated around those things and talking about who's going to do what in the home and in the family helps. So when we run into stuff where it's a jump ball and somebody has to grab it, there's a system in place to do it. So I just feel grateful and lucky that I have a partner who wants to be there and grab the ball and help. And in the business, I think similarly, I've been fortunate to build a company with the best people I've ever worked with over the course of my career. And for whatever reason, they've all decided to come along on this crazy journey to do consulting work with me and help lots of other companies grow. Um, I my approach to leading the company is to just kind of radically delegate as much as I possibly can and trust. And that that's been a huge driver of the success of the business, because I'm not a micromanager and I'm not kind of sitting around um, wondering what everybody's doing. I'm just letting them do their best work and giving them the tools and the support to do it. And I think similarly, that's what you do for me at home, Alyssa. So you give me the tools so I can be as successful as possible.
Yeah, and I also think that specifically, like that model has helped us in how we manage our homes and how we manage life at home, where we're constantly seeking patterns, and or at least I am constantly seeking patterns and systems to ensure that we can just radically delegate what kind of minutia we have going on that supports us. Like, we never run out of soap at the sink, or it sounds silly, but like, I'm never out of paper towels or tissues. I'm just not. And I don't have to think about where they are, or when is the last time I got them, or do I need to go get them this week or not. I've completely cleared that mental load, and that has been such a relief. And I think oftentimes mothers, unfortunately, bear the brunt of that, of like, who's eating what and when. Is it in the fridge? Has it gone bad? When am I going to run out of it? When do I need to get it? And I think what we've been able to do through our collective success and through our company is find ways to actually delegate those things so that we're not constantly overrun by running a household and having a family, and we collectively are well taken care of.
Yep. I know
And
moms who are ashamed to have a nanny or somebody help at home because they
yeah,
feel like that's their job to do that. And I think what I love about you is that you want to prioritize the quality time with our daughter and our family, which means delegating some of the things that we don't need to do ourselves.
I also think everybody in parenthood gravitates towards enjoying different things. And so
Yep.
it's so important to like try and break through that stigma of like, you're supposed to like, I love cooking, I love baking. And for the longest time, it was such an emotional thing for me to not be exclusively feeding my family. But at the same time, I had to be realistic with like what I have the capacity for.
Yep.
And it needed to be something where my family was being well taken care of, I was being well taken care of, and I wasn't overextending myself in order to accomplish that, because the joy wasn't there anymore, even though that was an expectation I had on myself for motherhood. And I've been able to find more joy in spending time with my family and planning outings and being a part of my family, like actually being an active part of my family, instead of believing that my sole purpose is supposed to be the only support system for my family.
So, Alyssa, what do you think is the hardest part of balancing work and parenthood?
I think the hardest part is having a preset concept of where you're going to make compromises in life, and when those split second kind of moments arise in your life, actually sticking to it. If you say, okay, I'm going to be done working by 5, but today was such a hard day and you're so close to completing this thing that you've been working on for weeks, closing your laptop right at 5 is like the hardest thing. And yet it's this concept of like, okay, if I close my laptop at 5, knowing that I didn't get these things done, am I going to be able to show up and be mentally and emotionally present with my family? Or am I going to keep thinking about this thing? Because if it's another 10 minutes so that I can give my family a dedicated, like, totally signed off 3 hours, it's worth the 10 minutes, right? And so I think it's learning to kind of work through those logical compromises really quickly so that you can make the right decision on behalf of your family, not necessarily on behalf of the workload.
Yep. And for me, at least, the 10 minutes requires communication. You have to say, I need 10 more minutes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely don't just keep your door shut.
Yeah.
And then leave everybody else waiting for you.
Yep. And when you have kids, they'll come in anyway. So
Yes.
you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I think helps us learn a lot is the highs and lows of our lives and our work, and talking to the folks that we're talking to on this podcast. I think we're hearing, and we're going to hear, some incredibly hard and amazing stories of how they overcame really tough things and learned and grew from it. And so I think walking through the lowest moments of personal and professional life can really help paint a picture of what it takes to be resilient and grow and succeed. So I know we've had our fair share of lows, and I think they made us stronger. In the past year, we had the lowest low, at least in my life, and I think yours too. And part of going through that experience, I think, drove us to want to share more to help other people if we can.
Yeah. I think, to be more specific for those that are just entering our lives, this past year, we got pregnant with twins, which was super exciting because we had been trying for a while. And we went into labor sporadically at 20 weeks. And at 20 weeks, they aren't viable. So we lost the twins despite having a successful delivery. And that, I think, is the hardest thing we've ever navigated as a family.
Yeah.
I think, to add more complexity to it, our 3-year-old was super excited to become a big sister. And so we had to do everything we could to kind of help her navigate that emotional trauma, which was not easy. But I had always been a bit of a fairy tale skeptic of the idea that somehow love can conquer all. And I think that experience really proved that love and hope are they're not everything, but they're the first step in fixing probably some of the most difficult situations that we experience as human beings.
Losing the twins was the hardest thing I've ever gone through, and watching you do that and get on the other side of it, and then us getting pregnant again. I mean, it's just the classic, like, comeback, triumph, hope triumphing over despair story. And I think what's really special about it is, you turning to me and telling me how you wanted to celebrate having this little girl that we're going to deliver soon. And as we do, we kind of go a little crazy when we have a silly idea. So I don't know if you want to share the idea you had, and then I can talk about what we ended up doing.
So I've never done a maternity shoot before. We had planned to do a maternity shoot with the twins. And so when we got pregnant again, I was like, okay, well, we should do a maternity shoot. And in an effort to celebrate the hope and the love of the twins, we decided to buy ourselves sports cars. And so I thought that it would be really lovely if the sports car that we bought me was a part of the maternity shoot for our new baby. And in thinking about that, for some reason, my brain instantly went to, oh my God, that weird Paris Hilton ad for Carl's Jr. that everybody got so torn up about over like the Super Bowl in the early 2000s. And I was like, well, we could use that as the inspiration for the maternity shoot. So like there's the car, I'm in a swimsuit, I'm eating cheeseburgers, super funny, right?
Super funny.
And
And
Jason
then,
was like, well,
yeah,
what if
we
we
make a
actually
video.
make it?
Yeah, we just make the commercial. We don't need to just take photos of it. If we're going to bring the car to a cool warehouse and take pictures, why not also have a 20-person crew and produce a full commercial and film shoot? I mean, it's the same, right? It can't possibly be harder than shooting the photographs.
Right. Yeah. Totally logical.
That became Carl's baby. That's what we called that little project. I think we'll share it and let the world see how silly and ridiculous we both are. And it is a celebration of the love that we have for each other and this little girl that's about to come into the world, and a statement from you about what it means to be a woman and a mom and love cheeseburgers. And now a word from one of our Frank Growth sponsors.
Stuff.
Stay with us, babe.
You got this, babe. Come on. You can do it.
Can we cut?
Do that thing, we gon' make magic.
Life is messy, but it's also hot, you know? That's the whole idea. And the more you can embrace the messy and just be like, yep, that's fucked up, the better the hot stuff gets.
And I think what's really fun about all of it is that you and I have a unique set of skills that were required to do something of that scale, and we did it. And
it was super cool. You and I have never. So
I've never gotten to see you perform, so I got
Right.
to see you act and do the thing that you did for the first half of your life.
Well,
that I
when we
never got to
both
be a part of.
met, we had like left kind of the sparkly, shiny, like entertainment stuff kind of behind us.
Yep.
And we're like, we're gonna just be these kind of semi-boring.
This was our chance to sparkle again.
Yeah. And it
together.
was cool that we got to like see each other in that venue.
I loved it. I loved seeing you in a bathing suit, spraying water all over yourself and soaping up your pretty sports car and eating cheeseburgers. I'd do it again. I'd do it all over again.
Thanks. It was fun. It was fun to watch you manage all of it, even though you like didn't sleep for the week before. This has been really fun for me, and I hope this has been maybe like half as fun for everybody watching.
Yeah, I'm sure that it has been, and I thank everyone for listening or watching and being a part of it with us. And I hope it gave you a little bit of a taste of what it's like and what it will be like for us to talk to some of the really impressive and interesting guests that we're going to have on the podcast as they share and are very vulnerable, just like we were, about the things that they've been through that have made them who they are and help them achieve the success that they've achieved with their businesses and their lives. Frank Growth is all about growing your business and growing your family, and we're excited to tell our story and the stories of all the folks that are going to be on the show. So thanks for listening, and we're excited to see you at the next one.